The DEA says that if you miss a take-back program, you soon may have another safe way to get rid of those prescriptions because of a new rule. But you can't put your guard down once you're done shopping. The Attorney General's office says many of the incidents reported this year have occurred in the parking lot. The crosswalk is just the latest new feature here on Route 1. Over the summer, the speed limit was dropped to 25 miles an hour. Winter storm warning for the area starting at midnight tonight and lasting until 9 o'clock tomorrow night. Now, right now, out here at the University of Maryland Mall, it's kind of just foggy, rain's falling, not that cold either. This jacket even is a little warm.
Marijuana decriminalization laws have gone into effect, but you still can't get it for medical reasons.
To 3 different continents, done over 16 expeditions, and traveled nearly 22,000 miles. And how is this fire station and that Domino's connected? The answer straight ahead. Maryland Newsline starts right now. Chad Fox questions the future of gun owning in Maryland.
Primarily, what's next?
As a lifelong gun owner himself and proprietor of Fox's Firearms in Columbia, he says sales have changed over the last 12 months since the state's gun laws were tightened.
The sales of handguns have dropped simply because a lot of people just refuse to get their HQL, which is their handgun qualification license.
A license the legislature voted to require in order to purchase a gun in this state. Today, supporters joined together to mark the 1-year anniversary of the Firearms Safety Act, which includes the licensing provision as well as limits on the size of gun magazines, and it prohibits the sale of 45 models of assault weapons.
Which is saving lives in Maryland.
While advocates say the final numbers aren't in yet, they do point to a 15% drop in the number of gun-related deaths between the first 8 months of 2013 and first 8 months of 2014 as proof something is working. One of the topics several speakers brought up is the 2014 shooting here at the Columbia Mall that took 2 lives. They said it could have been much worse.
What that scene would look like if that person had had a more deadly weapon.
And I think from those awful experiences, you have to have something good come out of it.
Elizabeth Bannock has a daughter who was at the mall at the time of the shooting, and she says that this legislation cannot be repealed.
It affected the whole community. It was an awful, awful day.
The NRA says it will continue to challenge the constitutionality of the law. Some predict the matter may well end up before the Supreme Court. In Columbia, Brett Hall, CNS TV.
So he said, no, I'm bringing your daughter home. And he brought my baby home.
Thank you.
He brought her right home.
Good job.
Wednesday night ended a horrifying 72 hours in the life of Keisha Gaither, the mother of 22-year-old Carlisha Freeland Gaither, who was kidnapped Sunday night on a sidewalk near her Philadelphia home. Lucky for everyone, it was all caught on tape. Early Wednesday evening, the phone rang at Keisha Gaither's home. Her daughter was now safe, found in a car, parked in a shopping center off Waterloo Road in Jessup.
She was very upset. She was crying, and she just was asking for me. Tell me she loved me, she missed me, come get her.
The ATF says they came to the shopping center in Jessup acting off of a tip, and when they arrived in the parking lot, they say they found exactly what they were looking for.
The agents at that point moved in, utilized one of their vehicles to block him, to prevent him from leaving the parking area, and then announced their presence to him, gave him verbal commands, and took him into custody without incident.
The suspect is 37-year-old Delvin Barnes. Police say he's also wanted for the kidnapping last month of a 16-year-old Virginia girl.
People like this don't necessarily, there's nothing that makes sense, don't even try to find it. He's a vicious predator. He's off the streets, and hopefully he'll be in jail for the rest of his life.
In Jessup, Brett Hall, CNS TV. The gentle breeze, the clanging of ropes against the masts, and the sound of boat horns make Baltimore's Inner Harbor a sailor's paradise. For September's Star-Spangled Spectacular, the harbor became the temporary home for a number of tall ships, and that includes the U.S. Coast Guard cutter Eagle, the only tall ship in the U.S. military.
Hard work. Yes, you might only be pulling on sails for 4 hours, but I had 3 blisters that popped in the first 3 days.
Coast Guard officer candidate Caitlin Waddle spent 2 weeks aboard the ship that was originally built for Nazi Germany in 1936.
Just getting back to and appreciating the roots of the Coast Guard.
After World War II, the U.S. took her. From March to September, the Eagle is used to train Coast Guard officer candidates and makes visits to different ports of call. The Eagle visited Baltimore 2 years ago for the kickoff of the War of 1812 bicentennial celebration, and then it left. But this time, it's staying, yeah. Right here in Baltimore is the Eagle's new home.
During her winter months, from about the middle of September until the beginning of March, She is going to be dry docked in the Coast Guard yard.
And visitors to the harbor are excited about the city's newest resident.
Well, that's good news. I think it's a real, good piece of American history here, and it'll be nice to have him here.
Brian Stark has a personal connection to the ship. His father served on the Eagle, and boy does he remember the stories.
Oh, he told me about working on the second yard arm and tying the sails off and everything, and the pitch and roll of the ship when it's out in the ocean.
The vessel has 22,000 square feet of sail and 5 miles of rigging, all of which will be looked over while she is in dry dock.
When they're first, unfurling the sails for the first time and making sure everything looks good and works, it'll all be done in Baltimore.
Reporting from the Inner Harbor, Brett Hall, CNS TV. 28 defendants in a federal drug case may soon be walking the streets free. An FBI agent involved in the arrest of the suspects is himself being investigated for tampering with evidence. Today, a judge approved a U.S. attorney's plan to release the prisoners. A principal is behind bars on child abuse charges tonight. Dwight Jefferson, principal at Dwight D. Eisenhower Middle School in Prince George's County, has been charged with 1 count of second-degree child abuse and 3 counts of second-degree assault after punching a child in the head and stomach. Bond is set at $75,000. The aftermath of the shooting of Michael Brown has increased the call for outfitting police with body cameras. In fact, President Obama is now asking Congress to approve $75 million to help law enforcement agencies make that happen. But cameras are nothing new to one local police agency. CNS TV's Stephanie Martinez takes us to Laurel, where officers have been using body cameras for more than 2 years. Now, the other candidate, Anthony Brown, called to congratulate Hogan on his win. During his speech, Hogan thanked Lieutenant Governor Brown and Governor Martin O'Malley for their work over the last 8 years. $20 to $30 million. That's the estimated cost of the University of Maryland data breach, which occurred this past February. Thousands of records containing personal information, including Social Security numbers, were exposed. Great news for drivers tonight. Gas prices could drop below $3 a gallon. Yes. And the average retail price just dropped 20 cents in the last month.